Hello. So as promised, I am doing a video on single parenthood, shame, and the workplace. This one's tough. I've had to talk myself into this one, like even after I publicly committed to doing this video. I'm nervous about it. I'm nervous about who's going to see it. I'm nervous about what people are going to think. All sorts of fun thoughts going on. And I'm doing it anyway because my why is stronger than all the chatter that my mind is throwing at me about why I shouldn't do it. Because if this helps even just one person, like other people's content helped me, it's so worth it. So, shame, single parenthood, and the workplace. So shame, I want to define in the way that Brene Brown defines it. So not feeling ashamed, but the feeling of shame. So this is how she defines it. I'm just looking at my phone. Shame is the intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. One of my sources of shame is the fact that I am a single mother. In my self-help work, what I've come to learn and believe for myself is that my thoughts create my feelings. My feelings are directly connected to the way I act, and I get the results as a result of those actions. That's work. That way that's laid out in that format is work I learned from Brooke Castillo, initially her podcast, and then as a student of the Life Coach School and the Self-Coaching Scholars Program. That work is available to everybody. She's amazing. So with this new information and reflecting back on my experience with shame, and then as I'm creating the career mindset coaching group, as I focus on career, of course I'm thinking about, well, did shame ever impact my career? And it did. No one did this to me. This was me. And it wasn't anyone else causing my feelings of shame. It was me having a belief that I didn't belong. I first felt shame at work when I was pregnant. His father and I were not married. This feeling of not belonging or being different or unworthy was after I'd gotten a promotion and I overheard they just feel sorry for her. Okay. Talk about not feeling worthy because I didn't inside, right? If I had already felt worthy inside, I'm like, whatever, you're clueless. I'm awesome. I'm amazing. I got this promotion because I designed that handbook. I participated on those 3 projects and I'm doing a really good job and I'm blowing my stats out of the water. But no, I totally was like, oh my gosh, they're right. They just feel sorry for me. That's why I got this job. So that's one example that those thoughts did not serve me. But I then at work started trying to prove myself over and over and over again. And that's a pattern I can look at throughout my whole career where I overcommitted, I overworked, I did the extra. One, I had the drive as a single parent to achieve, right? So I wanted that. 2, I was rewarded. I was encouraged by my bosses, by my leaders, by the teams to do more. Because, of course, if I'm willing to give them more for the same amount of pay, why wouldn't they take it, right? And I was rewarded verbally. And then I felt belonging. Several years later, I'd graduated from college and I was working at a place that was filled with a lot of people who were my age. Things happened. I'm on my way to a client meeting, and I've told this story in live events before, and people are like, "Oh, what?" It's one of those like women supporting women thing that it was not that was not happening in this office. But I took this so personally, and it was for me one of those career moments where I felt shame. And I think in hindsight, I think she believed she was helping me. Um, so I'd had kind of a bad, and I got that going on right now, but that's on purpose. Um, I had like a lot of root outgrowth, and my hair, I'd had a little like a reddish tint to it. It was kind of getting washed out, and getting your hair done's expensive. And I was wearing this suit, and I felt cute that day. And I was headed out to a client meeting, and I've got naturally curly hair. It's straightened right now, but sometimes it gets a little frizzy, and I get, whatever, my hair gets frizzy. And she walks up to me as I'm on my way out the door, and she's like, "You should really, like, you need to do something about your hair." And then looks down at the hem of my pants, and she's like, "You should really get your pants hemmed." And immediately for me, that was like, you don't belong. You don't belong. Like, you don't belong in this place. You don't belong here because you can't afford these suits, and you can't afford this haircut, and you can't even afford the $12 to get the hem in your pants because daycare's $186 a week. Mind you, that was like 20 years ago. Oh my gosh. And I showed up at that place like, oh man, at that particular place, there was a lot of happy hours, there was a lot of social activity happening, a lot of the people were bonding, and I couldn't go. I either had to get a babysitter or I couldn't go. Um, I didn't have a support system for like, hey, I want to go to a happy hour. Can you go get the kiddo? And it's $1 a minute if you're late. It's $1 a minute, or was $1 a minute. Maybe it's more now if you're late for pickup from daycare. So when you got no one else to pick up, you got to show up on time, and you don't get to go to happy hour. So not being able to go to the happy hours was another thing where I felt excluded. They stopped asking me, right? It's like, oh, she never comes. And then I felt even more excluded because I believed I didn't belong. The other thing shame did was create all sorts of weird behavior in me, where I talked a little bit about the prove myself and overcommit and over project. And I did that for most of my career. The other thing that happened was same thing, different way, but as a leader. I was trying to prove myself to the team that I was leading. And I still can get guilty of this because it's an old pattern and I have to be really conscious of it. But kind of micromanaging and like, I'm in charge. Like trying to be strong and like have this work face on. And I got a lot better at it in the last couple years of my professional life because I did some work on it. But it wasn't great. In some ways, I was a really, really good leader because I had a lot of empathy for other people's lives outside of work because my life outside of work was really demanding too. But in other ways, I just like I don't know, I was like overbearing maybe. Not always and not with everybody, but it happened. And I can look back on it and say, oh, that was me trying to prove myself. And I was trying to prove myself because I didn't think I belonged. Didn't think I'd earned that spot at the manager table. The thought loop that I had of not belonging created for me this mask, of strength. I got it. I got everything. I can cover everything. I can do it all. I don't need anyone else. I don't need your help. I don't need you. I got it. Because that's something that we hear from other people. And we take that and we believe it. Like, I'm strong, which is a great thought, right? But when you have this thought of like, I'm strong and I don't need anybody else, then you don't let anybody else help. You don't let other people show up for you. You don't connect with them. You don't be vulnerable with them. You don't tell your whole truth. Like this morning was freaking hard. My kid fought with me for 25 minutes because the seam of his sock wasn't right on his toe. Tonight was hard because my kid threw his plate of food across the table. I just kept it all in. I didn't talk about this stuff with anybody because I didn't think anyone cared because I didn't belong. Dating. My coworkers were so interested. This is how I belonged. This is how I thought I belonged. They were so interested in what was going on in my life. It'll be so great to get a guy in your life. Have a role model for that young man of yours. Wow. I just like dated to date to have stories to tell to my coworkers. What the hell was I thinking? Like, oh, did you have a date? Do you have a date? Are you bringing a +1 to the party? Blah! And they're asking out of genuine curiosity because they want to know what's going on in my life, and I'm making it mean that I have to go date. I was in no place to be dating because the last place that shame showed up in my life, escapism. Shame is painful. Shame is so painful. It hurts. It really hurts. Like I'm feeling it, right? Like shame hurts. And we mold and morph and try to be what other people want us to be so that we can belong. That pain, when you don't know how to sit with it and you don't know where it's coming from, you want to run hard from the pain. I'm just letting the tears come because I've learned how to allow pain through all this hard work. I hope that anyone who feels this way, that's practicing escapism, whether that's overworking or overdating, overscheduling, overdrinking, overeating, overshopping, gambling. I hope that you get the help you need. There's so much help available. So much help available to you. I can be a source for help, but there's lots of other sources out there. If you are doing any of those things that I suggested from a form of escapism, take a look at what you're spending on your escapism and invest in either therapy, books, a 12-step program, a class, a life coach, a career coach, whatever. Invest in yourself, because that escapism pattern that you're in right now, it's going to become a loop if you don't interrupt it. And negative thinking will continue, and you'll continue to prove it true, and you'll continue to prove it true. So please, I'm begging you, if you feel broken, if you feel like you don't belong, if you feel shame in the way that I described it, get help.